One of the common attributes that I have noticed with all of the science teachers that I have worked with at the many high schools is that we're all explorers. We all like to go out and go to amazing places, go on vacations, or maybe even perhaps even worked at a national park. Like myself, even before I became a teacher, I was a ranger. And while working at these amazing national parks, when I became a science teacher, especially teaching earth science, I've always had this drive of, oh, wow, I want to take my students out to these places. But of course, the obvious problems are there, and, expenses, getting people out there and so forth. And so for many years, I've been frustrated trying to come up with a viable option to at least give them this virtual reality type experience. So at the beginning of this year, I dove into this project, and I've tried to. I first started experimenting with these, you know, high definition goggles. So I asked all the students, bring in all these goggles, and so they did. They brought in virtual reality goggles and so forth, and I tried them out. And one thing that I found out is not only is the expense of these kind of high, but I didn't really get that virtual experience as this amazing thing that was promised by all these companies. And I've even went even further and looked at a couple local universities that have done similar projects, especially in geology, and noticed that if you really want to do something that sophisticated, it's going to cost an absolute large amount of money. So one night I was exploring just the regular Google Maps, and I noticed some of the photographs that people were taking. So for instance, I zoomed into Glacier National Park, and along the Going to the Sun Highway, I just started by chance clicking on some of these photographs. And one thing that I quickly discovered is some of these people are using these, what we call 360-degree cameras. And after playing around with the ability of what you can do with this, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I finally found a tool to use for this project. I got so excited. And so I pulled out all of my notes and so forth and started working on a virtual tour of Glacier National Park. And so today, what we're going to do in this real short introduction is show you how you can incorporate a virtual field trip without actually going there, but being able to use some technology that really gives these students a like, oh my gosh, I really feel like I am there. So this project, as I said, I started working on at the beginning of the fall of 2019, and it was in my last week of my earth science classroom. And I decided to use it at the end because it's like a culmination project. It would give me some time to kind of develop the project and so forth. So one thing I'm showing you is I've used Google Classroom extensively, and I really like the way it's laid out and how you can get, subtopics. And so the way I organized it is the students, they get a lab sheet, and we first start off with, where is Glacier National Park? There's a link here. And so within their worksheet, so here's an example that I've got. This student, Brianna, had filled this out for me. And so what I've done is the Going to the Sun Highway, I picked 7 of my favorite places where the geology outcrop is right there on the road, where I possibly could get a possibility where someone had taken a 360 camera, uploaded to Google Maps, and was able to tap into that and use it. And so I spent hours looking for all of these different photographs, and so I've come up with just an amazing collection that at least got this project going. So in the first thing, the students would go over some basic geology, glacial geology, etc. And then what I have them do, and now again, this is perfect for earth science classes, is I found a place along Logan Pass where the students, the first stop was get a big picture. Let's do a geologic sweep of the area. What can you see? What are some of the features of these rocks? Is there like a story that you can tell me possibly of how this park was formed, or just the geology in general, and then using the visual. So As the students go through here, using the classroom, they go right here to the big picture. So what I did was I embedded the stop right in here with the camera. I'm going to show you how to do that at the end of this tutorial. But right here, I've got Logan Pass. That's my very first stop. I knew that this particular spot, being at the northern part or right in the central part of the park, there's a trail that goes along there, and I knew that there was a huge talus slope loaded up with all varieties of rocks. So the first stop I simply said was, okay, go to this stop and describe some of the different types of rocks, meaning give me about 8 samples and literally describe it. Is it sedimentary? Is it metamorphic? Is it foliated, non-foliated? What, do you see any fossils? And lo and behold, when I mentioned if you can find some fossils, this literally turned, I mean, this is the amazing thing about this. This literally turned into a fossil hunt. I mean, students spent a half an hour on that very first stop, zooming the camera in and out, trying to look for the fossils. So let's go ahead and check this out. So here is the first stop. Now, again, the visual on this is just amazing. I can't emphasize it's enough. I literally feel like I'm there right now. I've hiked this trail so many times while working out there. But look at this. The students are able to first go ahead. They can pan, and that's what I tell them. I was like, pan out. Look at the landscape. What is out here, right? And so as they're looking around, looking at all of the jagged mountaintops, now some of the different terminology that we have used in the earlier weeks when we talked about glacial geologies, I'm hoping starting to come back. So here's where the beauty lies in this. So after they've done this and they got the ooh wow out of them, and again with me, the quality of these images are just spectacular. So now I show them, look, you can now zoom in to all the different all the rocks, and that's what they do. So with this camera, look at this. I mean, literally, I feel like I can pick up these rocks. It's that amazing. And so as I'm zooming, moving this around, the kids are now supposed to, again, look at each of these rocks, grab a different sample, okay, and describe it. Give me the big picture. What are you finding? And so here's an example. And when I first started this project, I really didn't want them, or I didn't vision them literally taking a picture of the rock sample and then incorporating that into the data tables. And that's exactly what they did. So as I was walking around from group to group, I noticed, oh my gosh, they've actually incorporated they did a little screenshot of the rock and put it inside. And now we've got a rock collection. We've got a rock bag. This is, again, it just unfolded spectacularly. So here's the data table. So here they can try to guess, is this a sedimentary? Is it metamorphic? And again, this is where the fossil component is in the last column. I've got fossils listed on the top. Again, you can make it anything you want as far as, different types of information you'd like to extract out of them. But usually I had here as fossils and then give me a description. So again, they spent a lot of time looking for the fossils, but this was really captivating for the students. It became a hunt and a competition because at this particular site, like right here, this rock, this is what we call the Apakuni Formation, and I was really hoping that one of the kids were going to actually find some of the, right here you can actually see a marine plant that literally was implanted right on this rock. You can see the shading on this and the stem of the plant going right here. But as you spin through this, there are lots of different examples of, especially blue-green algae, the conophyte, the early blue-green algae that had shown up, the stromatolites that had shown up many, many years ago, which of course would be bigger than this. But at any rate, as the students explore these rocks, they were pulling them out. Here's the samples. So then they described them, and again at this particular stop, I was just trying to get out of them, the types of rocks, what can you find, and then kind of look at the landscape, describe the physical attributes to it. Was there, the erosional part? Why are these canyon walls so steep? And so after again about 15 minutes, again, I've only thought they were going to only spend maybe 10 minutes at this stop, really. And they go back to my Google Classroom. So here's the big picture. Then they go to stop number 2, which is Wild Goose Island Viewpoint. This particular site is another. Again, I carefully planned this, where now at this site they're going to be able to pull out the U-shaped valleys, arêtes, horns, all of these key terminology of any glacially carved landscape. So let's look at this one. And again, having been to this national park and been to this particular site so many times, and being able to move this around this camera is just absolutely fantastic. And as the students are moving it around, again, now you can start seeing the layered rock layers here, way out in the distance. You can see it, and then certainly here. Oh my gosh! So now on my worksheet, so here's at step 1: describe the landscape. What type of clues in the landscape do you see that would cause that we can tell that glaciers were here? And as they move down further, I tell them to pan the camera west to describe some of the other rocks and similarities, and just different things. And by the way, over in the right hand corner of this, on the map right over here where my picture is, this is a compass telling you which direction you're actually looking at. And so most glaciers, of course, move north-south. And so another thing I was hoping is I did point this compass out to them. And so as they're moving and looking down the opposite end of this lake, they'll notice that we've got a north-south orientation on this lake, which certainly tells you the direction in which this small valley glacier had carved out the landscape. But then again, look at this. So as they move it around and they zoom in and look at this, I mean, I can zoom this in even further, but look, now they can start seeing even more and more layers. Clearly, the students should be coming to the point where most of the rocks at this park is in fact sedimentary. But this is a virtual lab. Again, you can use this in so many different applications. Biology, you can go outside, take a 360 camera, go to a lake or a pond, etc. I mean, there's just the sky is the absolute limit with this. And as I scroll through here, you'll notice again some of the other stops that I've incorporated in here. In fact, there's this other one called the Jackson Glacier Overlook, which is the classic glacier in the whole at this national park. And one of the other cool, again, virtual things I was able to incorporate into this is the fact that at this site, you literally can. I have incorporated a flyby of the glacier, or of the Jackson Glacier, and linked it in. So how do I link all of these in? How did I get all of this? Well, as you're using the Google Classroom, when you find a site like this, okay. So here is the site. I can zoom back out again. On the map itself, here. At any rate, as you zoom out and you find the spot, right up here on the bar, you go ahead and you highlight this. You highlight the link, and then like what I did was I went to the Google Classroom. Here's my link here, and then inside. Here, let me go back up here. This is where the big picture right here. So then I put the link in here. I literally went to edit, and then copy and pasted the link right into this. So again, all this technology was through Google and 360 camera photo shots taken by some stranger, and then just incorporated that into it. It's quite again, I can't emphasize how amazed I am with this. with this technology, but clearly, so with all, in most technology, of course, it changes. And initially, when I started the project, as I zoomed in, I could clearly see the pictures, and I would click on each one to find out, which one was 360, which one was best appropriate. Well, here, so this is, again, a location where one of my first stops is, but the reason I'm pointing this out is as you scroll over here to the left-hand side of the screen, Google's inserted the different types of photographs. So the one that I'm looking for is right here. Now, they've actually categorized, okay, here are all the street views or 360-degree photos. So you click here, and at this particular location, here is all of the different, ones that you could possibly use. And this is the first one. So you click on this one, it brings me here. And then this is the first one that you could use. I mean, there's many of them. And again, you can scroll down over here on the left-hand side and try to pick the most ideal one. And so this is how I organized it. So at any rate, I hope you've enjoyed this and this inspired you to try a virtual field trip somewhere, maybe not far away, but maybe just in your backyard or locally where the kids could possibly visit at a later date. I hope this helps you well. And again, we at the North Carolina Science Teachers Association are here to help you and to provide some further inspiration with the technology and learning from home. Take care. Bye now.